What is up? Today I'm going to be talking about an NBA game, for example, and my main point we'll be talking about throughout this video is how to not let your guard down and lose your cool in tight situations. When pressure is on the line, you have to step up and perform, and that's not just with basketball games, that's also with anything you deal with in life. So let's just dive into it a little bit. So the game that I'll be talking about specifically crosses my mind is the 2016 NBA Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. I'm a big basketball fan. I'm growing around basketball. That was my last video, was learning how to shoot a free throw. So now, as my event, I'll be talking about the Game 6 of the 2016 Western Conference Finals. So this is a very important game in my life because I was a big Thunder fan growing up, and one of my least favorite games ever was Game 6 because this was my team, which my favorite team was the OKC Thunder. This was their last chance to actually have a breakthrough and win a title because for the last several years they had come up short. They'd been to the finals, several playoff early exits when they should have probably gone all the way, and this was their last chance together. So they were going up against the Golden State Warriors. You were definitely familiar with this team. It was their second year at the height of their career. They had just broken the regular season record for most wins in a season. And so they were the hottest team in the league. And it was a big deal because in the NBA, it's best of 7 games. And the Thunder had a 3-1 series lead against the Warriors. And with 5 minutes to go in Game 6, after losing Game 5, which was at Golden State, because Golden State had a home court advantage, in Game 6, the Thunder made they had home court advantage for Game 6, so they weren't really worried about losing Game 5 as much, but when they did lose Game 6, the whole momentum changed, and eventually Game 7 was in the Golden State's favor because they had home court advantage for Game 7, and then they came back and won the series. And it was one of the biggest choke jobs in sports history because the Thunder were or at least playing like the better team. They had everything set up, 3-1 lead. They had beaten Golden State on their home court several times, and they had their number, and they just let their guard down in Game 6, and the whole momentum changed from OKC side to Golden State side right after Game 6. So in the final 5 minutes, I was just watching back, and I realized a lot of things. So this is what I'm going to be telling you, my steps of how they actually lost the game and how to not lose in these tight situations. So one of the things I look back and watch was that they weren't prepared defensively or offensively. Offensively, they ran a lot of isolation, and a lot of isolation is focused on oneself, and that had been their game style the whole year. You had 2 of the best players in the league, the dynamic duo. You had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, 2 unguardable guys, and they relied too much on those 2 guys in the final 5 minutes of the game, and that's how they lost Game 6. Westbrook and Durant combined for too many turnovers and too many forced isolation shots. Westbrook would drive and either turn the ball over or he would just lose the ball out of bounds and get deflected by a Warriors defender. And for Durant would force too many jumpers. A lot of it was just relying on one player. And you can't rely on one player when basketball is a 5v5 game. And I think that was their downfall on the offensive end, is that they relied too heavily on Kevin Durant. They had multiple shooters off the bench they could have brought in because the Warriors got hot. And when the Warriors got hot, it was game over. Klay Thompson set an NBA record for three-pointers made that game. I'm pretty sure he hit at least 12 threes. I know he had at least 10, but Klay and Stephen Curry, known as the Splash Bros, were probably the hottest thing ever during that time. And the Thunder also lost not only on the offensive end because they weren't prepared at all. Their transitional defense, and they were not prepared to guard Stephen Curry or Klay Thompson. Specifically, Game 6 Klay Thompson. Game 6 Klay Thompson is one of the best. It's kind of a meme because Klay Thompson always goes off in Game 6s that he plays in the playoffs, and this was probably the biggest example. When the Thunder were leading the game, you had to go to a man, only one person, that was Klay Thompson, and Klay Thompson got hot. He literally couldn't miss, and when Klay Thompson gets hot, it's over. And the Thunder didn't change their defensive strategies at all, which frustrated me. because they easily could have boxed and won. And what a box and one is on defense is when you entirely guard one player. Like in basketball, you usually play help side defense, but you should have just face guarded him. But overall, they didn't do that. And overall, Clay got way too many open looks. Their transitional defense was sloppy. They didn't get back in time quick enough. They were too relied on offense, and they kind of just fell under pressure in the moment. And that's kind of with anything in life, though, is that when you let your guard down and you don't come prepared like the Thunder were in Game 6, then you won't be able to succeed as much in life. And that's what happened to the Thunder here. Thunder were the better team. Like, say if I go interview for the job and I'm clearly the better person, but I don't come prepared to answer my interview questions and I don't come prepared dressed nicely enough, but I am a harder worker and maybe a smarter person, but it doesn't matter because I wasn't prepared, and they're not going to know that maybe I was smarter, harder working person because I didn't come prepared. And that's kind of my main point, is that this is a big example for me, and I think I look back and this is definitely one of those games that makes me frustrated, but also I can take things from that game and learn. And that's obviously one of the biggest things I learned, is that you have to perform you're going to have tough scenarios your whole life, and you have to take the proper steps and the proper care, and you're just going to have to pay attention if you want to be able to overcome those tough scenarios you're going through, and which you eventually will. Not always, but mostly. And yeah, that's my main goal for this video, was to explain to you about Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals in 2016 between the two great teams, the Thunder and the Warriors, and how that relates to life. So, yeah, thank you.